All right, welcome in here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. It's time to link up with one of our favorites, man. It was great news for him and for the listeners of Jocks FM, of WJocks FM 94.5 over there in Alabama, as they picked up new content, a new show going into the football season. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Those guys record and are on air from 7 to 10 a.m. Obviously, you know Greg McElroy and Cole Cubelic, two of the hottest names in college football, breaking it down. But we lost access to one of our favorite guests who was coming on with us routinely in the football season, as we would always tout is the best at breaking down the game. So it's good to have him back here, and this is stuff that we can do now here on our own platform, where we can kind of break away from the 7 and 9 and bring content to you like this, and that's catching up with Cole Cubelic, the former Auburn offensive lineman and now the trusted voice of the SEC Network and ESPN. He joins us now here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Great to catch back up with you, man. Thank you for the time.
Jordy, it's good to be back with you again. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, man. LSU Auburn Saturday night in Tiger Stadium. Does it get any better than that?
I mean, not really. Especially when you consider the fact that these fans have probably been waiting, going on 2 years to get this place the way it's going to be Saturday night. I mean, I know that there have been games there. I mean, I did a night game there at the end of last year, but I think we all knew that towards the end of that COVID year, there was some fatigue, there was some uncertainty. It just wasn't the same for a lot of people. And even though the crowd for that Ole Miss game, made it fun, it wasn't what it can be. And I think this is the first real opportunity with the first opponent that comes in, maybe not highly ranked, but obviously with something else on the line. Yeah. And I think that will heighten engagement. I think that'll heighten the intensity, and it's going to make it matter more to a lot of people. So I think the matchup in and of itself is pretty interesting. I think we will get a competitive game. And Saturday night in Baton Rouge, two SEC West teams, man, it does not get much better than that.
You expect Finley to get the start for Auburn?
I do not. Now, I'm just going based on how I would handle it if it were me. I mean, I know Coach Harsin. I've been around him. I've been able to have a lot of conversations with him. One of my favorite things about him is just mentally and emotionally how he handles things. But if this is me, Jordy, I go into this game and I say, listen, I pull TJ aside and I tell him, if you were in his position, Bo Nix's position, and you had done everything that he had done to earn the starting job going into the season, we would not take that away from you after one bad half of football. So we're not going to do that to him. That being said, we have a pretty good idea that some of the things that presented themselves in the first half of the Georgia State game are probably going to show up again. When they do, your ass needs to be ready to go in. And the next time you go in will be the last time you go in as the backup, because it'll be your job after that. I think that's how you keep him motivated. I think that's how you keep him dialed in. That's how you keep a little bit of a competition going. And then, too, let's be honest, you remove a little bit of the nerves. You remove a little bit of the distraction that is a guy that was playing that position in that uniform in that stadium a year ago. Yeah. And I think you take a lot of that away, push that to the side, even though there's still going to be some of it no matter what the scenario is. But I think you help minimize that a little bit going into this game. And listen, TJ made his fair share of mistakes when he got in. Anyway, by no stretch of the imagination was he perfect in that game against Georgia State, but he made some big plays late and helped Auburn get a win. I told people before the season there would be a quarterback change at some point. I don't know if I anticipated it being this early. I damn sure didn't think it would be against Georgia State. But now it's where Auburn is. And so you can't go too long not knowing who your guy is. I'm okay giving Nix another chance. I think he deserves that. He's earned that. However, there's going to come a point in time soon that I do believe Auburn needs to designate who their starting quarterback is moving forward.
Either way, who starts, it's the Tank Bigsby show for Auburn if they want to be successful, right?
Should be.
Yeah.
Should be in every game they play. And I think it was very telling that he was not in on a couple of those drives late in the game against Georgia State. Now, I do think that he was a little bit nicked up. I don't think he was 100% in that game, but still, he puts the ball on the ground, and you basically see Brian Harsin say, it's not going to be you. We'll go with Jarquez Hunter, and we'll let him carry the load here and go down and try to win this football game. But Tank is special. Tank is different. Tank is a takeover guy. I mean, Tank Bigsby will remind you of some of the great LSU running backs you've seen play in that stadium for however many years, because he is that good. He has that kind of potential. But I think that's where one of the interesting matchups comes in, because the Auburn offensive line is not great. Matter of fact, Jordy, I don't think they've even been good this year. And the LSU front starting to play a little bit better. Neil Farrell's been really good the last 2 weeks. You're seeing Mason Smith grow, even though he's going to move and place in some different spots. Obviously, you're going to use him inside. You're going to use him outside. So it hurts to lose Andre Anthony, but with Olajari and Ali Gay and a little bit of maybe some Joe Evans, I think that is going to be an absolute handful for the Auburn offensive line. And I think when you add some physicality at linebacker, which LSU does, that could go a little bit further in how they play against the run. Auburn has had a very poor time the last 2 weeks identifying linebackers. I would watch that position closely for LSU in this game, and I'll be interested in how Durante Jones wants to play it, because linebacker run-through was very successful for Georgia State. Now, at Penn State, it wasn't as much run-through, but it was those guys essentially not being blocked or attempted to be blocked that allowed them to move around and make some plays. So I'm very interested to see how he handles the front, and I think that there are multiple players there that could be very problematic for what this Auburn offense is going to want to do.
Cole Cubelic here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven by Go Chevrolet. What's been your impressions of Jake Peets, the first-year play caller?
I think that sometimes we lose sight of what all goes into being a first-year coordinator in and of itself, and then being your first year at a new place. I think we always focus in, Jordy, on the plays that are called, how many yards they have, how many points they have, but we don't talk enough about communication and feel and timing and rhythm and just a true understanding of what is attempting to be accomplished. And that takes time. And when you have a younger offense, it's going to take even more time. And I do think that this is a younger LSU offense in nature, especially coming off a COVID year when, even if you're looking at sophomores and juniors, that was still a lot of developmental time that was taken away from those players. So I think that it's heading in the right direction. I think when you saw them go to emphasize attacking downfield a little bit more against Central Michigan and kept that against Mississippi State, that provided a few more explosive plays. I've kind of moved past the whole they have to run the ball to be successful. I'm not necessarily sure that's who LSU is right now. And with the way they've had to juggle running backs, I think that's only going to complicate that. And to be perfectly honest with you, the offensive line hadn't played well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's been the biggest issue. You can talk about, and listen, some of it's been on Max, some of it's been on identifying the Mike linebacker, knowing your hot routes, knowing your hot blitzers, and being able to get the protection to where you can pick those things up. At times there's been breakdowns with tight ends, with running backs, and then there's absolutely been some offensive linemen that have just flat out got beat. Yeah. So there are a lot of different things that happen across the course of why a play breaks down offensively. And LSU has they have shared those failures across every position group at times. But I think with what they have and where they want to go and what they're attempting to do now, trying to move Keyshawn Boutte around a little bit more. Love how they're doing that. Yeah. Saw tight end and finally get involved a little bit more last week. They're still growing. But I think what he offers and what he's attempting to bring can work. It's just going to be about communication, getting everybody on the same page.
Cole Cubelic, couple of minutes with him here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Tomorrow could be the best slate of college football that this season offers. When you just look at the selection, and you really don't even have to get outside of the SEC. A couple of these games in Athens, Arkansas, traveling over to Georgia to Sanford Stadium to take on the Bulldogs. A ton of points there. Vegas thinks 18.5, and I don't want to get into the betting mechanism of it, but just to give you an idea of the matchup, what do you make of this when it gets the early slate for SEC Network viewers?
I don't think Georgia wins it by over 18.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
Yeah.
And the main reason I say that is because I know two things that are going to happen for Arkansas in this game. Two things for certain, no questions asked. have 1,000% positivity that these things will take place. One, effort. Since Sam Pittman has become the head coach at Arkansas, the effort of those players has done a complete 180. It's the total opposite of what it was before. And they will bring effort to Athens, Georgia. Number two, you will get a great plan on both sides of the ball. Now, doesn't mean that it always works to the way that you want it to. Doesn't mean that there's not breakdowns with individual play, or you turn the ball over, or you miss a tackle, or you misfit a run, or you miss a block. Well, that's just football. Those things are going to happen. But I know every time I put on Arkansas's film on Sunday, I'm impressed with the plan that Barry Odom puts in place and the plan that Kendall Browse puts in place. Georgia's the more talented team. Georgia's a deeper team. Ultimately, I think that's why Georgia finds a way to win this game late. But it'll be competitive because Arkansas will fight you and will make your life difficult in a lot of different ways. And I think that they will have a good plan on both sides of the ball to stay competitive in this game. So that one's going to be fun to watch. And I'm excited to see just how competitive Arkansas can be for 4 quarters.
A sneaky game that's getting overlooked as far as the intrigue goes tomorrow, but should be a fantastic game, is in the Commonwealth between Kentucky and Florida. Before we get to Ole Miss and Alabama and get your thoughts there, what do you think about that matchup?
I mean, there are parts of me that like Kentucky to win the game. The problem is they've had real issues with turnovers. And, Christopher Rodriguez in the Missouri game fumbled the ball twice going into the end zone. Josh Ali had a big fumble last week. They've got to cut down on the turnovers. That's not something that normally just corrects itself. And this Florida defense gets after you, man. Like, they've got speed, athleticism. They now have added some size inside via transfer and a freshman. So they've got some guys that they can change their fronts up a little bit and make life difficult. But this is an offense. They're going to hit the stretch play early. They're going to live and die on it, and then they're going to build some bootlegs, some play action, some quarterback runs off of it. They're going to take their shots. We're going to find out which quarterback's for real in this game because both have made great plays, both have made bad plays. Mm-hmm. And both have looked like, okay, that's why they weren't the guy before at certain times this year. But then they've also had some wow plays. The thing that I think decides this game is Brad White, Kentucky defensive coordinator, who I think is excellent. What kind of plan can he put together for Emory Jones and Dan Mullen's offense? This is a heavy-handed group up front for Kentucky. This is the front seven that you probably least like to fight in the league. Mm. Now, they're not very twitchy. They're not going to run past you. They're not going to out-athlete you. But you don't want to see them in a street fight. That's just kind of how they play. That's not Florida's game, really. Now, they have a little bit more of that this year than they have in the past. But I think Kentucky's got a great shot to win it. I picked Kentucky to win just because they're getting them at home, and I know what this game means, and they finally have some explosive capabilities at the quarterback position.
The major game tomorrow, the national game, everybody will have their eyeballs peeled on, will be in Tuscaloosa tomorrow as Nick Saban and Alabama host Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. The over-under on this game, Cole, is 80 points. It's 79.5 points. That is just Vegas throwing up their hands and saying, look, they could score 100 maybe. We don't know. This is going to be a fun game, right?
It's going to be a great game. It's going to be exciting. I think Bryant-Denny will be loud. It'll be rocking. I think there's a lot of reasons for that, kind of similar to what we said about Baton Rouge. These fans have been waiting for this kind of a game to fill back up. I mean, the Miami game was a neutral site game. You had Southern Miss and Mercer at home. You played Florida on the road. I mean, kind of similar to Baton Rouge. This is the first time they've had a chance to get in there with this kind of a game and build the kind of atmosphere that we know is capable of being built there. So first off, that's going to be going. Then you bring Lane Kiffin into the mix. That gets everybody's attention, especially in Tuscaloosa, for a lot of different reasons. And, you bring the 2 Heisman Trophy favorites right now on one football field. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think that both teams will get their points, get their yards. I don't think it hits the over. I think it goes under. And I think Alabama comes out and says, all right, if your defense is really better, let's see if they're better up front. And I think they test that offensive line. They test the running backs, whether it's Brian Robinson, Jason McClellan, Trey Sanders, whoever it is. I think Alabama tries to go right at Ole Miss and establishes themselves as a more physical team, establishes the pace and tempo of the game, and hopefully try to limit a couple of the possessions that Matt Corral and Jeff Levy get to be able to try and generate points. I think it'll be good for 2.5, 3 quarters, maybe 3.5 quarters. I think Bama pulls away late. Yeah. They probably win the game by 2 touchdowns, 17 points, but it won't be what it looks like in the box score won't be what we get for the majority of this game. I think it's going to be a hell of a game, a lot of fun, and I do think Alabama wins and pulls away a little bit late.
Last one, I'll get you out of here. You're in College Station tomorrow. Is Texas A&M looking ahead to Alabama next weekend as they host Mississippi State?
There's no way when you have as much going on with them that you can look ahead. There's not. There's too much self-scouting and self-evaluation that needs to take place to give a damn about who you play past this weekend. I mean, they shouldn't be worried even about the games tomorrow. They should be worried about themselves today and how they're getting themselves right today. Like, that's where they are as far as circling the wagons right now. So I think this one's going to be fun, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you talked about underrated games. I think Auburn LSU is competitive. I think Georgia Arkansas is competitive. I think Alabama Ole Miss is competitive. I think Troy South Carolina is going to be competitive. I think Missouri Tennessee is going to be competitive. And I think this one may be the most competitive out of all of them because Mississippi State is the weirdest team in college football. I don't know any other way to describe them to you. I really don't. Like, the weirdest team in college football. The only game that they have been outgained in this year was the NC State game. And that's their most dominant win. And they were outgained in that game. They held Memphis to 2 of 12 on third down and under 90 yards rushing, and they lost the game. Jordy, they went 12 of 18 on third down and outrushed LSU and lost the game. They lost 3 fumbles and threw a pick against La Tech, and they won the game. They have the number 2 rush defense in the SEC, and they're 2-2. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it other than they are the weirdest team in college football. That being said, they're close, man. They're like, you watch the film, they are very, very close in a lot of ways. And if there's going to be a game some point in time this season when it starts to click and they're going to run somebody out of the building that they're not supposed to. So I think it'll be a fun one. A&M's got some issues up front on offense. We know that. And A&M is having trouble with trust up front, with the offensive line trusting one another, the quarterback trusting them, the quarterback trusting the system. And this is not the defense to try to earn trust against because they will give you everything. You saw it last week. I mean, there are times that you get free runners in that game against LSU last week, and it looks like, I mean, it almost looks like a hologram of a Mississippi State defender showed up at the last second and nobody even knew he was on the field. And then, boom, there he comes under pressure. So you're not going to settle down and just figure things out against this defense because Zach Arnett throws too much at you.
Yeah, Trey Williams gave that offensive line hell last week. I mean, they were reshuffling, trying to find guys that could block him. Miss your analysis. Miss talking to you, buddy. Have a great call tomorrow in College Station. Real quick, the last time Auburn won here was 99. You were the center. I think it's still your profile pic of you blazing cigars on the midfield. How much does that motivate Auburn still to this day just to get a road win in this series?
I don't think it does.
Yeah.
Honestly. I mean, I talk about bulletin board material a lot, and I think it's BS, to be honest with you. Like, here's the thing. If you need someone to say negative things about you to motivate you to be a good football player, how often are you going to be a good football player?
Yeah.
Because not every team's putting that stuff out every week. So you're going to get 3 good games in your career. You can't rely on those things. Now, is it talked about? Sure. But, I mean, most kids on the LSU football team couldn't tell you my name. They don't know who Ben Beard is. They don't know who Ronnie Daniels is. Right. They don't know who Damon Duval is. They don't know who Clifton Robinson is. Like, they don't know those guys. So they probably don't really care that much about it. But, you know, it's something that, hey, this hadn't happened in a long time. We damn sure don't want to be the team that lets it happen first in that amount of time. So, you know, you take it a little more personal, but at the end of the day, it's still just going to come down to matchup and making plays. And I think it's a matchup that favors LSU just a little bit more. I think LSU finds an extra explosive play or 2 on offense. And unfortunately, I think LSU keeps the streak alive.
Love the new radio show, man. Keep up the great work. Miss you on the air, having some conversations with you, but we'll catch up again soon.
Sounds good, Jordy.
Thank you, man. There's Cole Cubelic checking in with a little analysis of the entire weekend. As he dives into all the SEC games, including LSU Auburn, which we said last time Auburn won in this series was 1999. He was the starting center in that game. That was when they fired up the cigars on the Tiger Stadium playing
Son
surface.
of a bitch does have a picture with the cigar that says "Welcome to Death Valley" in the background.
No doubt about it. I think he puts it up every year during Auburn LSU week. He's got to.
I wonder if when they were doing that, they're like, "Ooh, this is
not going to age well."
Yes.
Well, he was a senior.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So you're like, hey guys, sorry, you're gonna have to clean up my sins here for the next couple of years.
Happy birthday, Tommy.
Right. All right, that was good stuff with Cole, man. I miss having him on during the week because you can throw just about any question at him and get like an in. I mean, listen to that answer on LSU's defensive line. He's giving you like Joe Evans and guys like that, like Neil Farrell. I mean, like he's in it. You know what I mean? Still, my favorite thing on Sundays, the best analysis that you can find on Sundays, in my opinion, about the SEC is Cole Cubelic's Twitter account, where he breaks down in 140 characters, or how many they allow now, every team. He goes through all 14 teams, and he gives you the good, the bad, the ugly of what he saw the day before and kind of where they stand going into the week. And if you are if you're a football junkie, if you're a gambling degenerate, or if you're just are curious about teams within the league, it is a great instant analysis to find out where they are. Jack Besh caught that ball last week. They're playing the replay here at Mississippi State.
I was watching it last night.
He caught it. It's almost an easy call looking at it.
And they spotted him wrong on the third down. The first third down of the series.
The spot difficulties with the officials has been really kind of embarrassing. I mean, they flipped the field against LSU and Central Michigan.
Yeah, and nobody caught it.
Nobody said a word, but I mean, like, that's more embarrassing. I don't know if that's more embarrassing on the assistant coaches or the referees, like, not to catch that. You know what I mean?
So
like,
it's got to be somebody.
If you're the assistant coach, I mean, that'd have been a great opportunity for an assistant coach to kind of like take a stride in the pro. Like, hey, coach, stop the game. We're on the wrong yard line, man.
Wrong 40. I'm going to save you 20 yards of possession. It also could go the other way immediately.
Well, sure.
Like buzz into Coach O for the first time.
Stop the game.
Stop the game. Like, are you bleeping kidding me? Who are you? Like, never mind. We're all good here. Never mind. You don't get your 20 yards.
I'm an analyst.
What's your name?
All right. Have a great day. Go Chevrolet. Good stuff today.
Yeah.